There comes a moment in every life when the soul begins to whisper louder than the noise of the world. A moment when you can no longer pretend that the heaviness you carry is anything other than your own resistance to peace. This moment is sacred. It is not an end, but a beginning. It is the quiet threshold between who you've been and who you truly are. And if you are listening now, not just with your ears, but with your spirit, you already know. You are not here by accident. The message you are about to receive is not new. It is not foreign to you. It is the echo of something ancient, something eternal that lives within you, something that has been calling to you softly, patiently, through the silence, through the sleepless nights, through the pain that you thought you had to carry forever. But here is the truth, simple and liberating. You are not your suffering. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are the awareness behind it, all the quiet observer, the divine presence who has simply forgotten its own infinite freedom. The suffering was never your identity. It was only a costume worn in the theater of experience. You mistook the role for the soul. And like an actor who forgets the script is temporary, you started to believe the pain was permanent. But now, it is time to remember suffering is not your punishment. It is your teacher. But like all good teachers, once the lesson is learned, it no longer needs to stay. So why do we hold on to it? Why do we cradle our pain like a sacred relic, passing it down from thought to thought, moment to moment, as if it defines who we are? Because we've become addicted to it. Not consciously, of course, but subtly, spiritually, emotionally. The addiction is not to the pain itself, but to the identity it gives us, the story it tells, the attention it draws, the certainty it offers in an uncertain world. Pain, you see, is familiar. And what is familiar often feels safer than the unknown, even if it hurts. We say we want peace. We say we want healing. But deep down, we fear what would happen if we truly let go of what has defined us for so long. Who would I be without my story of betrayal, of abandonment, of failure, of loss? You would be free. That is who. You would be whole. You would be infinite awareness unchained from form. You would be who you were before the world told you who you should be. But the ego resists this. The ego thrives on separation, on identity, on survival, through struggle. It whispers, if you let go of this pain, who will protect you? It says your suffering is justified. It means you were wronged. It means you matter. But what the ego offers is not protection, it is imprisonment. And you, my dear friend, were not born for a life sentence. You were born for liberation. Freedom does not begin outside of you. It begins in the invisible, in the subtle, sacred space between your thoughts. It begins when you say, I no longer need to suffer to feel alive. You are allowed to feel peace. You are allowed to be healed. You are allowed to live joyfully without guilt, even if others around you are still in pain. Your healing does not betray the past. It transcends it. Every time you return to a painful memory and choose to relive it, you're not honoring the wound, you're reinforcing the illusion that it still has power. But your mind is not a museum of grief. It is a canvas for creation. And suffering cannot exist in a mind that refuses to feed it. You are not responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what you continue to carry. Let that land in your soul. You are responsible for what you continue to carry. You do not need permission from the past to be free in the present. Freedom is not earned. It is remembered. It is reclaimed. It is what remains when the illusions fall away. And those illusions, the stories of I am not enough, I was broken, I was abandoned, I was hurt, I am unworthy, they are just clouds. You are the sky. The clouds come and go, but the sky is eternal. untouched, unshaken, unstained. You cannot fight suffering with suffering. You cannot overcome darkness by becoming it. You overcome it by returning to the light within you. And that light, your true essence, does not know suffering. It watches it, it witnesses it, it learns from it, and then it lets it go. You are that light. You are that witness. You are that sky. So why do we suffer? Because we resist what is. Because we want things to be different than they are. Because we believe life should have unfolded in another way. But the should is the cause of the pain, not the event itself. The should says, this should not have happened. The should says, they should not have left. The should says, I should not have failed. But what is simply is, and no amount of mental protest will ever rewrite the past. It can only prolong the illusion that your freedom is on hold. It is not on hold. It is here. Now, in this breath, in this stillness, can you feel it? There is no suffering in this moment unless you bring it here. The past is not real unless you resurrect it. The pain is not alive unless you breathe your thoughts into it. There is only now. There is only the awareness that hears these words. That awareness is untouched by time, it is eternal, and in it there is no addiction, no story, no suffering, just being. You have carried the weight long enough. You have fought yourself long enough. You have rehearsed the grief, replayed the betrayal, and recited the heartbreak long enough. And now I invite you to rest. Not to give up, but to surrender. To surrender the false belief that you ever needed to suffer to be worthy. To surrender the lie that your pain is what makes you real. You are real without it. You are enough without it. You are divine, with or without a story. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. It is saying, I will no longer allow what happened to define me. It is cutting the cord between your soul and the past, not because the past deserves it, but because your soul does. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is the decision to no longer let pain be your teacher, your companion, your shadow. Your new teacher is love. Your new companion is peace. Your new shadow is light. You are not here to prove your pain. You are here to express your freedom. You are not here to relive old wounds. You are here to awaken to your infinite self. And that self, it is waiting patiently beneath the rubble of your resistance. It has not been broken, only buried. Beneath every tear, every memory, every loss, it has remained untouched. Like a diamond beneath the soil, it is still there, radiant, whole, complete, waiting to be uncovered. This is the great return, not to a past self, but to the self that existed before you were taught to suffer, before you were taught to doubt, before you were taught to earn love. That self is your truth. And it is calling you now, not in words, but in knowing, in intuition, in the silence beneath your thoughts, in the stillness behind your eyes. Are you listening? Because if you are truly listening, then the addiction is already loosening. The identity is already dissolving, and in its place, something sacred is emerging. Freedom. Not the freedom the world gives you when things go your way, but the freedom that was never lost. The freedom that is your birthright. The freedom that is your nature. This is only the beginning. When you begin to awaken to the realization that your suffering is not required for your growth, you start to unhook yourself from the spiritual lie that pain equals progress. Yes, pain may come, but it is not the source of your power. Your awareness is. And once you stop identifying with the suffering, the pain loses its grip. The fire may still burn around you, but you will know you are not the flame. You are the one watching. This realization is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is not lightning and thunder. It is a quiet recognition, like the sun slowly rising behind a foggy mountain. The mountain does not move, but suddenly it is lit from within. That is what awakening feels like. It is not a forceful act. It is the gentle, divine invitation to remember that what you have been seeking has always lived inside you. You do not heal by fighting, you heal by allowing. You do not free yourself by resisting. You free yourself by accepting. Acceptance is not approval. Acceptance is clarity. It is seeing the present moment without adding the weight of the past to it. When you stop insisting that life be something other than it is, you unlock the door to the peace that was already in the room. Peace doesn't arrive when the world behaves. It arrives when you return to yourself, when you stop running from the now. You see, your suffering is often not about what's happening, but about what you're thinking about what's happening. The thought says, this shouldn't be. But what if it should? Not because you deserved it, but because it arrived as your curriculum. Your soul signed up for a classroom that the mind does not always understand, and in that misunderstanding, we reach for judgment. We reach for control. We reach for fear. And yet the soul only ever reaches for one thing: awakening. You are not here to control everything. You are here to respond to everything with love. Every experience you've had, the betrayals, the illnesses, the losses, the heartbreak, has been a sacred messenger, not a punishment. You are not cursed. You are being called inward, called home, called into the deeper layers of your being that only pain could expose. But once exposed, those layers must be healed, not by continuing to scratch at the wound, but by ceasing to identify with it. Healing begins when you stop telling the story from the voice of the victim and start remembering that you were always the observer, the awareness, the consciousness, the one who experienced the pain but was never the pain itself. You do not need to earn the right to feel whole. You already are. You do not need to prove your pain to receive love. You are already loved infinitely, eternally, unconditionally by the source that breathed you into being. That source does not see you as broken. It sees you as becoming. Not becoming someone else, but unbecoming everything you are not. And in that sacred stripping away, what remains is your essence. That essence cannot suffer. It is beyond form, beyond name, beyond history. You cannot touch it with your hands, but you can touch it with your stillness. You can meet it in the silence between breaths. You can feel it in the calm between your thoughts. You can hear it whispering in the spaces where the world goes quiet. That is who you are. Not the roles you played, not the failures you feared, not the identity the world has projected onto you. You are the one behind the roles, behind the masks, behind the defenses. You are divine awareness, choosing to have a human experience, and part of that experience includes pain, but not the addiction to it. That part is learned. And what has been learned can be unlearned. It begins with intention, with a willingness to release the familiar discomfort of suffering in exchange for the unfamiliar peace of your true self. It begins with asking, what if I no longer believed I had to suffer to be loved? It begins with challenging the beliefs that say, I am only worthy if I endure, or pain is the proof that I am growing. No, presence is the proof, awareness is the proof, joy is the proof. Joy does not mean you have forgotten the pain. It means the pain no longer defines your frequency. You are allowed to choose a new vibration. You are allowed to feel good. You are allowed to be at peace, even if the world around you is in chaos. Your serenity is not selfish, it is sacred. Your healing is not a betrayal of the past, it is a declaration of your power. You were not sent here to stay in the dark, you were sent here to become the light. And the light you are does not demand anything. It simply shines. Not because it wants recognition, not because it needs approval, but because shining is what it was made to do. So let yourself shine again. Even if your past tells you it's too late. Even if your ego says you're not ready. Even if the world says you should stay small. You were not born to stay small. You were born to expand. You were not born to stay wounded. You were born to evolve. And the addiction to suffering, that is the final illusion. The one that says, if I let go of this, I will have nothing. But in truth, if you let go of it, you will have everything. Because behind the suffering is your essence. Behind the story is your silence. Behind the identity is your truth. And your truth is not broken. It is not ashamed. It is not angry. It is not lost. Your truth is whole. Your truth is eternal. Your truth is divine. You are not here to convince anyone of your pain. You are here to demonstrate your freedom. And freedom is not loud. It does not scream. It does not argue. It simply is. So stop rehearsing the pain. Stop replaying the past. Stop feeding the addiction with the attention it no longer deserves. The pain has already been felt. The lesson has already been received. The wisdom is already within you. Now is the time to let go. Not because the past is forgiven, not because the pain was okay, but because you are no longer willing to suffer unnecessarily. This is spiritual maturity. To choose peace even when pain feels more familiar. To choose presence even when the mind demands more suffering. To choose now this moment as your liberation, because your soul has always known suffering was never the goal. Awakening was. And awakening is not found in the mind. It is found in the letting go. Let go. Let go of what hurt you. Let go of what betrayed you. Let go of what you could not change. Let go of the belief that your worth is measured by how long you've carried the pain. You do not need to carry it anymore. You are allowed to set it down. And in its place, you will find something sacred. Not something new, something ancient, something eternal. Something that has always been waiting patiently behind the veil of your struggle. You will find yourself not the self shaped by trauma, not the self shaped by society, but the self that was born before the pain ever began. You are that self. You are that light. You are that peace. Now return to it. Remember it. Reclaim it. This is your healing. This is your homecoming. This is your freedom. And it begins now. If the voice within you is whispering, but I don't know how to let go, let me tell you this. You don't need to know how. You only need to be willing. The path appears when the resistance disappears. Letting go is not a technique. It's a choice. A decision made moment by moment, breath by breath. A decision to stop feeding what no longer nourishes your soul. You let go not by force, but by allowing. You let go when you stop trying to control how healing looks. You let go when you stop trying to understand every detail of the past and simply say, it happened, and now I choose peace. This does not mean you don't care. It means you care enough to stop hurting yourself with what's already over. You've cried the tears, you've felt the weight, and now your soul says, there is more than this. And there is joy beyond your sadness. There is clarity beyond your confusion. There is light beyond your pain. There is freedom beyond your identity. But to reach it, you must unclench your hands. You must be willing to release what you have carried like a badge of honor. Yes, it protected you. Yes, it made sense. Yes, it once served a purpose. But no more. What once protected you may now be what is keeping you stuck. The old defense mechanisms have become prisons. The old beliefs have become walls, and now is the time to tear them down. But you do not need to tear them down with violence or anger. You simply stop feeding them. You withdraw your belief. You say, thank you for serving me, but I no longer need you. And in that moment of inner maturity, your freedom begins to return. It was never gone. It was simply waiting beyond the illusion, beyond the drama, beyond the voice of the ego, waiting for your willingness. You see, suffering survives on attention. It needs your mind to keep it alive. It needs your identity to give it shape. But When you become still, truly still, you can feel something deeper than suffering. You feel presence, not the kind that requires proof, not the kind that needs explanation, but the kind that simply is, that presence is who you are beyond thought. It is awareness untouched by pain, and it is always here. You may have forgotten it, but it never forgot you. It does not need you to be perfect. It does not ask you to fix yourself. It only invites you to come home, home to yourself, home to the divine essence that needs no justification, no resume of pain, no history of endurance to prove its worth. And once you return, once you begin living from the place of present, suffering becomes optional. Did you hear that? Suffering is not mandatory. It is optional. Pain may be part of the journey, but suffering is a choice. And when you finally accept that, you no longer argue for your limitations. You no longer defend your wounds. You no longer tell stories that reinforce your bondage. You begin to speak a new language, the language of liberation. And liberation sounds like this: I choose to no longer identify with my story. I choose to stop reliving the trauma. I choose peace not because the past changed, but because I did. And in those declarations, your entire vibration changes. The universe begins to respond differently. People treat you differently. Opportunities open where once there were walls, because your outer world is a mirror. It does not reflect what you want. It reflects who you are being. So be someone who is free. Not perfect, not invulnerable, not unfeeling, but free to feel without attachment, free to remember without reliving, free to stand in your worth without needing suffering as a crutch. The world does not need more people proving how much they've endured. The world needs more people who are willing to be free, even when it's easier to stay stuck. The world needs people like you, people who dare to heal not only for themselves, but for everyone they touch. Because when you heal, you break the chain. You stop the cycle. You become the permission slip for others to release their own pain. And that is the quiet revolution. Not one fought with noise, but with inner stillness. Not one declared with force, but with softness. Not one built on resistance, but on surrender. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. Giving over the struggle to the presence that knows how to carry you when your legs are tired, when your heart is heavy, when your mind is loud. That presence is God. Source, Spirit, the Tao. Call it what you will. It lives within you. It breathes you. It animates your being. And it wants you free. It wants you joyful. It wants you unbound. It did not create you to suffer endlessly. It created you to awaken. So now you are at the sacred crossroads. The ego will offer you more pain, more identity, more drama. But the soul offers peace, spaciousness, love. One path you know well, the other asks for your trust. Which will you choose? Will you keep feeding the cycle or will you break it? Will you keep rehearsing the past or will you dissolve it in the fire of now? The choice is yours. Always has been. And the moment you decide, truly decide, the entire universe will shift to meet you there. Because the soul is not interested in delay. The soul does not procrastinate its own return. It longs not for more suffering, but for the sweetness of freedom. And once you taste it, you'll wonder why you ever waited so long. Because freedom does not feel like escape. It feels like arrival, like exhale, like silence, like the moment you realize, I am okay. I am more than okay. I am free. Not because everything outside is perfect, but because everything inside is true. And truth is the end of suffering. You have walked through storms. You have wandered in deserts. You have stared at ceilings in the dark, begging the heavens for answers. You have known the weight of memories that refuse to fade, the ache of unanswered questions, the torment of what could have been. But through it all, you remained. You breathed through pain you thought would break you. You carried burdens no one saw. You sat in silence while the noise of your mind raged on. And now, at the edge of that long road, you stand face to face with a deeper truth. The pain was real, but it was never the truth of you. It was never your essence. It was never your name. You are not your trauma. You are not your heartbreak. You are not your scars. You are what remains when all of that is stripped away. You are the stillness behind the storm, the light behind the shadow, the peace behind the personality. And you are awakening not by trying harder, but by surrendering deeper. Surrender is the most courageous act the soul can make, not because it is weak, but because it is wise. It says, I no longer need to carry what life never asked me to carry. It says, I release my grip on the past so I may hold the present. It says, I trust in the unseen more than I trust in my fear. And in surrender, suffering begins to dissolve. The ego will tell you that surrender is dangerous, that if you let go, you'll be hurt again, that if you stop identifying with the pain, you'll become vulnerable. But listen closely, that voice is the voice of the very addiction you're here to release. It wants control. It feeds on fear. It survives by convincing you that healing is unsafe. But healing is your birthright. It is not the exception to life, it is the essence of life. Just as your body regenerates its cells, your soul regenerates its awareness. Every time you choose love over fear, stillness over noise, truth over identity, you heal. Not because of effort, but because of alignment. And in that alignment, there is no more need to suffer. You were not created to prove how much you can endure. You were created to reflect the presence of God through your being. God is not glorified by your misery. God is glorified by your awakening, by your peace, by your return to wholeness. And wholeness does not require you to fix what happened. It asks only that you stop identifying with it. You are not the events that shaped you. You are the awareness that watched them happen. You are the formless presence within the form. You are the timeless soul having a temporary experience. What does this mean? It means that every identity built from pain, I was abandoned, I was betrayed, I was broken, is just a story. And stories, while powerful, are not permanent. They are interpretations, not truth. They are the lens, not the light. You are the light, and when you awaken to this light, the story begins to soften. You begin to say things like, that happened, but it is no longer happening. That was real, but it is no longer who I am. I don't need to rebleed every time I remember. I can remember and still be free. This is healing. It is not forgetting, it is reframing. It is not denial, it is liberation. It is not spiritual bypass, it is spiritual maturity. You are no longer a child in the garden of pain. You are the gardener now. You are the one who decides what grows. You are the one who decides which seeds to water, fear or love, pain or peace, story or presence. Choose wisely. Your energy is your vote. And remember, the world may still try to remind you of who you were, but the world is slow to catch up to who you are becoming. You do not need anyone else's permission to be free. Freedom is not a consensus. It is a personal awakening. It is the soul's declaration. I no longer belong to the prison of my past. And when that declaration is made, your vibration shifts. People begin to say, you feel different. They don't know what changed, but you do. What changed is that you stopped needing to suffer to feel real. What changed is that you stopped needing your wounds to feel worthy. What changed is that you returned to your natural state wholeness. And wholeness is not dramatic, It is not loud. It is not theatrical. Wholeness is gentle. It is steady. It is a quiet, sacred yes to this moment, exactly as it is. And in that yes, suffering melts. Addictions weaken. Stories fade. You return not to the version of you before the pain, but to the version of you untouched by it. The soul version, the divine blueprint, the you that existed before time had a name. That is your truth. And nothing the world can do will ever take it away. So take a breath now. A slow, conscious breath. Inhale not just air, inhale presence. Inhale wholeness. Inhale the remembrance of your divine nature. And exhale the story. Exhale the justification. Exhale the resistance. Let it go. Again. And again. And again. Because freedom is not a one-time decision. It is a practice. It is a path. It is a way of living. And the more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. The addiction fades, not because you fight it, but because you stop feeding it. And one day, a day that is closer than you think, you will wake up and no longer recognize the person who once needed suffering to feel alive. You will see them with compassion, but no longer with attachment. You will bless their journey and thank their endurance, and then you will walk forward lighter than ever, finally home in yourself. And in that moment, you will smile. Not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer at war with it. You are free. Free not just from pain, but from the need to suffer. Free not just from memory, but from the identity built from it. Free not just from the world's expectations, but from your own inner prison. Free to love. Free to breathe, free to be. This is your time. This is your return. This is your liberation. And no one can take it from you because it was never outside of you to begin with. It was always here, waiting. And now that you've remembered it, is yours forever. You are free. You are whole. You are healed. You are home.